We told you before we went to break we were going to delve into the world of fantasy racing, and we do it this week with Dan Beaver. Hey, Dan, what's up, man?
Oh, just looking forward to another week of racing.
All right, well, we had McClung on here last week, and he was all over. Who was he? He actually kind of sort of picked Keselowski, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he kind of liked Brad.
He liked Jimmy Johnson. He liked Brad Keselowski. I think he did pretty good. So you have a row to hoe there this week. Of course, let me tell you give a little background about Dan. Dan Beaver is the fantasy racing expert guru for NASCAR.com and for YahooSports.com. He's been a regular contributor here at On Pit Row for the last better than a year, and we really enjoy talking to Dan and appreciate his expertise. Dan, we're going to New Hampshire, which is way different than Chicago. More of a short track, at least based on what the drivers were telling us in the post-race interviews at Chicago this past weekend. Tell us what you think about New Hampshire and who you think the guys to beat are.
Well, first of all, I predict that Brad Keselowski is going to win the Geico 400 at Chicagoland, and Jimmy Johnson is going to finish second.
Yeah, way to go, man!
You are amazing.
You are. That's why we have you on here. You are the best.
I have been known to go out on a limb a time or two in my life, and that's what I'm doing now.
There you go, man.
Actually, I think you're going to see that same cast of characters at the front of the field. I think momentum means a lot, especially on a rhythm track. Keselowski hasn't won at New Hampshire before, but I think momentum makes the difference over the finishes that he's had there in the past. And he's the only driver this year who's been perfect on short, flat tracks: Phoenix, Martinsville, Richmond, and New Hampshire. Got a perfect sweep of the top 10 with 2 top 5s this season. So I think it's going to be hard to bet against him getting another top 5 this week.
Is there anybody?
Denny Hamlin,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I like Denny Hamlin's prediction that he will win, though. It shows confidence. He is probably the best driver on short, flat tracks. New Hampshire is one of 5 tracks, I believe, where he has a better than 10th place average finish. And 2 of those other 4 tracks are also short, flat tracks, Martinsville and Phoenix. So he's got the track tight down. He's got the rhythm down. I think those are going to be your top 2 drivers this week.
Yeah, Hamlin's really tough to beat at Hamlin racetracks, isn't he?
He is, and especially when he's motivated. I mean, last week he dropped quite a bit because of the fact that he was running out of gas there at the end. I think that's just going to make him even more motivated. He was a lot of people's pick at the beginning of the season to win the championship. Mistakes like that could cost him, but when he brings his A game, when he's on, I think he's going to be hard to beat.
Before we get to your specific Yahoo picks for the weekend, again, we're talking to Dan Beaver. Follow him on Twitter at Fantasy Race. Dan, this past weekend, there was a lot of positive talk about Jeff Gordon going into Chicago, that he would be a contender in these chase races, and that he was going to. It sounded to me like most of the experts I was listening to were going to pick Jeff Gordon until the horse died, and I think the horse might have died at Chicago. Is he off your list now going forward, or you still a believer, or were you ever a believer in Jeff Gordon in these final 10 races?
I wasn't a believer before, and that didn't change my opinion. Neither the strong run nor the stuck throttle.
Okay.
The team's been too inconsistent all year long to be a chase contender. As soon as you say that, they run well. Yeah. And when you start to get on the bandwagon, they run badly. But the bottom line is, over the course of 10 races, they just have what it takes to win a championship. Not currently. And that even if he had finished in the top 5 last week, I would probably say the exact same thing as the fact that he finished well down the order. It just wasn't. I don't think it's in the cards. I think that said, there are individual races and there are individual racetracks, and fantasy players are more concerned about the upcoming race than they are about that big picture.
Right.
Gordon's going to be tough. I think he's going to win maybe 1 or 2 races during the chase. He's going to post a lot of top fives. But something else like this is going to happen. Either he's going to make a mistake, he's going to get swept up in an accident at Talladega. Something's going to happen to derail his efforts again. And this isn't his only mulligan for the season.
And we're talking with Dan Beaver, and you talk about Jeff Gordon's lack of consistency. I thought it was interesting today in the press conference that Tony Stewart was part of.
Mustache?
Yeah, that Beth probably has one of the few pictures of Jeff Gordon with his mustache, and it may be that way. But Tony Stewart today said in his press conference at the Hall of Fame today, he said that he thought that the championship was going to be won with consistency this year, not necessarily wins. Does that hold true in your mind as far as the way you kind of see things, that nobody's going to be able to reel off those 5 type wins like he did last year?
I don't know. I think if somebody has the ability to do it, it's probably someone like Keselowski, who just doesn't listen to what the predictions are. Last year, Edwards got there with consistency. He got to the top point and just lost on the tiebreaker. So it can be done either way. And I don't think anybody can predict how it's going to be. No one has been that dominant driver so far this season, so we can point to him and go, that's going to be the guy. But Keselowski, with his 10 top 10s in the last 11 races and 2 victories in that span of time, has been the closest we've had to it. No one's going to get 5 wins, I predict. But 3 wins is going to be better than 3 or 4 wins can be better than what we've seen in the past. Stewart set such an unrealistic bar last year that it's not going to look the same this season. But I think you're going to have to win. I think you're going to have to win multiple times to win the championship.
Yeah, and that's what Jimmy Johnson has done in the past. He's almost always won a lot of races in the chase. Okay, we've spent enough time talking about the chase. We got to get to what people are tuning in to hear from Dan Beaver. What are you looking? What's your Yahoo team look like this week going to the Magic Mile at New Hampshire?
Well, Keselowski and Hamlin are the 2A drivers, and you're going to make your pick based on, I think, 10-lap averages on Saturday. If Hamlin looks great on Saturday in practice, he gets the nod. If he doesn't, I think Keselowski gets the nod then. Down at B, it's going to be that usual cast of characters: Boyer, Biffle, Earnhardt, Newman, and your decision on which of those to start or whether or not they make it onto your lineup is going to come down to allocation management. Down below them, there aren't drivers with the same kinds of records on short flat tracks that makes them must-haves, but Truex and Kane certainly have to be on the radar screen. And your 4 picks will come from those 6 drivers. And again, I would wait till Saturday and base it finally on the 10-lap average. C is easy. You're going to go with Brian Vickers simply because you can't start Sam Hornish more than 9 times. And there are still 9 races remaining, and you've started him a couple of times already. But that said, I don't think that Vickers is a lock for a top 10. He's done extremely well all year, but the 2 tracks where he's finished outside the top 10 have been short flat tracks, Martinsville and New Hampshire in their first races. Finished 15th on one and 18th on the other. I think that's about where he's going to finish, somewhere in the low teens to mid-teens. But it makes him well worth starting because it's going to save an allocation for Hornish.
All right, Dan, so we'll put you on the spot. If you're going to make a pick for the win this weekend, you got no choice. You got to pick one driver. Who's your pick for New Hampshire?
Hamlin.
Yeah.
Before the weekend starts, Hamlin, but I could easily change it on Saturday.
Real quickly, no talk at all about Jimmy Johnson tonight in this conversation, which surprises me a bit, although I know this is not one of his strongest tracks. Johnson have no chance?
He's got a chance, but in 5 previous short flat track races this season, he has only 1 top 5, 3 top 10s, and swept the top 15. I think he's good for a finish somewhere between 7th and 11th.
Also, not much talk about Ford. We got about 30 seconds, Dan. Tell me about the Roush guys. What do you think?
Roush Fenway Racing, not their strong suit. Biffle's got the best shot of the 3, then Kenseth, then Edwards.
All right.
Hey, Dan, we made McClung come up with a champ pick you get an extra week to look this over. So who's your guy to win the championship? One guy.
I'm sticking with Hamlin. I called him a couple of weeks back, and I don't think, and I'm staying with him for the moment.
All right, Denny Hamlin. Dan Beaver says Denny Hamlin. Who did McClung take? You take Keselowski?
I think he took Keselowski, if I remember
too,
correctly. I'd have to go back to the videotape. But
yeah, I'm taking Jimmy Johnson until he gets knocked off again. All right, Dan, thanks a lot. We really appreciate it, and look forward to watching the race this weekend. We'll talk to you in a couple weeks when we do this all again.
It's always a pleasure.
All right. Dan Beaver, again, follow him on Twitter at Fantasy Race. Read his fantasy racing articles at NASCAR.com and YahooSports.com. We'll put up a highlight of this interview on our YouTube page and on Bench Racing with Steve and Charlie later on this week, probably sometime on Thursday.